Good day. This is Chuck Cameron with OCTV. The program is My Life. And today I'm sitting with a guy who I think would be a great pal, Tim Throne, newly retired guy, moderately prominent in our town for a long time. Tim, thank you so much for taking some time to spend with me today.
My pleasure.
We really appreciate it. We start, as I told you, by figuring out what you're up to today. Take a couple of minutes and tell me today, what's new, what are you up to right now in your life?
Probably the biggest thing has been doing the chore list that I've had on both mine and my wife's list for the last 10 years that I haven't done.
Right.
So been trying to knock those things out, but nothing major, just enjoying the kids and grandkids and spending time doing things that I actually like to do.
Outstanding. Look at you.
Yes.
Enjoying life. Wow. That's just a good. All right. Now, given that now scenario, let's take a look way back.
Okay.
We like to start with figuring out you as a child, what was life like at home, where was home, and a little bit about who were mom and dad.
So I grew up in a huge metropolis called Grass Lake.
Grass Lake.
Pretty small.
Yep.
On the eastern side of Jackson County, sort of between Chelsea and Jackson, just south of 94. My dad bought some farmland, built his own house, and we moved into it in, I want to say 69 maybe. So went to Grass Lake schools my whole life. I have one sister. Both my parents are still alive. In fact, they just celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary.
Bravo.
So, yeah.
That's something to celebrate.
Yeah, for sure.
Is your sister older or younger than you?
2 years older.
Okay, and what's her name?
Her name is Shauna.
Is she local or no?
She currently lives in Napoleon, which is another little suburb south of Jackson. They live just north of MIS. So
a very quiet place until it isn't.
That's right. Yep. She's a kindergarten school teacher, and she stayed home when her kids were young, and then went back, whatever. But so she's a school teacher as well.
So, what was life like at home?
My parents were crazy.
I like crazy. And you?
No, I had a very probably typical childhood. Lived out in the country. That was back in the days where we could ride our bikes to school if we wanted. It was, I'm going to say it was 2.5, 3 miles to school. But a lot of times I'd stay after school to practice or do whatever. And so I either had to wait for one of my parents to pick me up or ride the bike into school so I could ride it home. But I don't know, had only a handful of neighbors. It was,
rural,
even more farming country and rural than it is today. But handful of neighbors, and did all those things of playing cowboys and Indians outside, and running in the woods, and mini bikes, and riding horses, and all that kind of stuff.
Sounds like a fun time.
It was a great childhood.
Yeah. What was life like at home? Tell us about your home. What were the interactions between mom and dad and your sister and you, and just give us a little picture.
Okay. So probably some of the biggest memories that jump back at me were that when we were young, my mom stayed home, and there got to be a time where she said, well, you and your sister, you guys can come home after school, do chores, and I'll pay you, or we're going to pay a babysitter. And so, of course, my sister and I said, oh yeah, we'll take the cash. So my mom went back to work, I don't know, at some point when I was in elementary school. But my dad worked for the U of M. He retired from the University of Michigan after, I don't know, I want to say he worked there, I don't know, 35, 36 years, something like that. Probably one of the biggest memories I have, though, is for a long time, he went to night school.
Really?
And he, I want to say it took him like 10 years maybe to get his bachelor's degree.
That's
And
tenacity.
so I would stay up as late as I could. I'd fall asleep on the couch. He'd get home. We'd have a bowl of cereal. I'd go back to bed and get up in the morning.
Yep. What did he study when he was at school?
He was getting a bachelor's degree in, I want to say business. And he knew that in order for him to move up at the U of M, he was going to need a degree. And so he put his head down, stuck to it, and took him a while, but he got it. And
Did things turn out for him the way he hoped they would?
yes,
Excellent.
yes, absolutely. Yep. With him working at the U of M, man, I want to say I was in grade school. I went over to Johnny Orr basketball camp and had my dad had season tickets for a long time, and so Saturday afternoons we'd go to football games and just got to experience a lot of really cool things.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
What was Dad like?
Anybody who knows my dad, he's probably just the exact opposite. Does not really have a temper. I can remember.
Okay.
I can remember one time. Farming community. I mean, we were driving tractors and stuff all around the place, and I had just got my driver's permit. I was 15, and my parents had just bought their first brand new car.
Ooh.
Since they were married. It was this beautiful Chevy Chevette.
Oh, yeah.
Got this great gas mileage. You're talking 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
And so I was constantly like, let me pull this car out or do whatever. And so
You were willing to help.
that's right. That's right.
How thoughtful. Really?
So one day I was, my dad drove a carpooling van back and forth to U of M. And so I hopped in the van to move it, and of course turned too sharp and put a big old dent in the front corner panel of this
In the
brand new
brand
car.
new car.
Brand new car. Now if it was me, I think I get my temper from my mother. But my sister told me after the fact, I didn't know this at the time, but Dad was in the living room looking out the window. My sister was standing there, and he basically just said, I'm not going to get mad. I'm not going to get mad.
He's talking to himself.
Just kept everything under control. But that would be a good story. My dad, I think the other way you could describe my dad, a good friend of his, once told me, and this guy happened to be my dad's financial advisor. He said, Tim, your dad is the, how did he say it? I'll say it this way. The cheapest, most giving man I know.
That's an unusual combination.
So I'll explain that. He will constantly look for deals, bargains, coupons. If building the house, save everything, may need it someday, not going to go to the store and buy this. So very frugal from that standpoint, but very giving in that, money, time, gives a lot.
Open-handed. Excellent.
Yeah.
What a great thing to grow up seeing.
Yes.
That's. I'm guessing that might have had a small influence on you.
Oh, definitely. Definitely big
Yep.
impact. We had, growing up, we had a couple of exchange students with us.
Excellent.
So my grandparents, my dad's parents lived in Northern Ohio. They had an exchange student. He went back to Mexico, got married, asked my grandpa to be his best man. And so, gosh, when I was, in grade school, we went to Mexico, and I spent 2 weeks in Mexico as a young kid. So I was an international traveler at a young age.
You were a wild and crazy kid. Excellent. Well, when we come back, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to move you ahead a bit, and we'll see what's up next, okay?
Perfect.
Stay tuned. Don't go away. Okay, we're back. We're still having fun. We got Tim, a bit of lifetime experience from his younger days. So you go to high school way out there in Grass Lake?
Yep.
What'd you do in high school?
Had a lot of fun.
I hope so.
Small graduating class. Everybody knew each other. In fact, just yesterday, once a year, some of my close buddies and I try to get together once a year, and we always go duck hunting.
Yeah, sure.
And so, 1 year for Halloween, this was back in the 80s, we went as the Duck Busters, not the Ghostbusters, Duck Busters.
Outstanding.
Went to school dressed in full camo, and
Probably didn't take your shotguns to school with you.
Not shotguns, but we had, you know those sprayers that you can like spray plants and stuff with?
Yeah.
So we put those on backwards.
Oh, too cool.
Like the Ghostbusters, they had their things, So we had a picture of a duck with a line through it. And
Outstanding. Outstanding.
Took our duck calls and went as the Duck Busters. That's right.
Excellent, all right. So that's school. Sports, athletics, drama,
very heavy.
interpretive dance, whatever.
Although I do like dance, no drama. Grass Lake was not big enough. We would always go to Chelsea once a year, go to Thompson's Pizza, and then go watch their school musical and stuff because Chelsea was huge compared to Grass Lake.
Yeah.
So, but heavily involved in sports, t-ball, baseball, basketball, football.
Any coaches that stand out in your mind as people who drove you to excellence or drove you crazy? Or both?
I loved all my coaches. A quick story ties back in with my dad. So, good friend of mine, Dwayne, lives up the road. We had mini bikes together. Mm-hmm. We were young. We wanted to play baseball, and we were too young. And so, Dad and Harold, Dwayne's dad, got together and formed the first T-ball league in Grass Lake, and it's still going today.
Look at there.
So we wanted to play, and so they put together a T-ball league, and so played baseball. Our senior year, we made it to the state championship game. We lost, but we got pretty far. Football, we made it into the playoffs and won the first playoff game in football in Grass Lake history. So
excellent.
We were pretty good in football and played basketball and loved playing basketball.
Excellent. So let's get you out of high school.
Okay.
What happened when you graduated from Grass Lake High School?
Thought I wanted to maybe go into medicine at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know. My dad took me over to Ann Arbor, talked to a doctor there, and
Good.
basically the guy said, Tim, if you're looking to go into med school and we have a student with 3.9 from U of M undergraduate or a student with a 3.9 coming from Kalamazoo College, we're taking the kid from Kalamazoo College. No questions asked.
Really?
And so I had visited Kalamazoo College, really liked it. It allowed me to keep playing baseball.
Yep.
And so decided to go to Kalamazoo College.
You get there.
Yeah.
What'd you study?
Started going down the pre-med path. Got 2 or 3 years into it. Got all the way to organic chemistry, and I said, I'm done. I'm tapping out. This is not me.
I have that T-shirt.
Moved over to business administration
Yeah.
and econ, and so that was my major, and loved it.
During the time, any influential folks in college for you? Profs or folks or people?
So if you were to ask my family, they would say I always tended to date older girls. I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, but for some reason they seem to think that. Well, okay, I'd never gotten a C in my life, whatever. I'm taking Spanish, and when you went to Kalamazoo College, you had to be bilingual.
Okay.
Because you either had to go on foreign study for 3 months, 6 months, or take additional language if you decided not to go on foreign study. So I had never taken any foreign language before, decided to take Spanish, and this professor never spoke a single word of English the entire class.
Immersion.
This is Spanish 101.
No, that's a hard start.
Let's just say that that's the only D I got in my life. Okay.
The record will show that.
Well, yeah. If you were not doing so well, you were required to go to a language lab.
Okay.
So I went to a language lab and met my Spanish tutor and eventually married her. But that's the long story. Short story is I called my parents. They were going to come up, take me out to dinner on, I think it was a Sunday afternoon. And I said, hey, if it's all right if I bring my Spanish tutor with me. And there was some pause on the other end of the line. And they're like,
Sure.
okay, all right.
Sure.
Well, let's just say, too, that when we met my parents for lunch, my mom and dad got out of the car. And when they saw Steph, he basically almost tackles Steph and hugs her, and he was like, I'm so glad to meet you. I think he was just relieved that she wasn't 30 years old, that she was like the same age as me. So
Got it. So he finally found one that's his age.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Okay, that's good. So you got married then or in some point in the future?
we graduated college, got married that fall, and moved to Chicago.
Chicago, the big city.
Yes.
Serious big
Totally opposite of
Right.
my upbringing.
Right.
I was definitely a fish out of water, but had taken a job with Anderson Consulting.
Yeah.
They were part of Arthur Anderson at the time, at their world headquarters in downtown Chicago. And so, yeah, Steph and I loaded up the U-Haul, and we stayed in a high-rise right downtown our first year in Chicago.
What a start.
Yeah, crazy. Good start, though, didn't have a car. I hadn't been without a car, oh my gosh, 6-7 years.
Isn't it amazing that people can actually exist without a car?
Yes, definitely different. We'd take the Amtrak home. The trains were our only mode of transportation.
And they work pretty well, don't they?
But, they wanted $500 just for a parking spot.
Yeah. It's like,
And this is like late 80s. Like, no, we can't afford that.
that's good. That's good. So at Anderson, anybody there who was influential in your life?
Definitely a couple of my partners. It was a great gig coming out of school. I worked for what was called their executive information division. We went in and basically interviewed CEOs, top executives, and built systems around to help them make decisions quicker, faster, better, run their companies better.
They had a heck of a process.
All that kind of stuff. And so I got to really learn a ton about the business world and how companies are run, make money, all that kind of stuff. Flew around. Did a job in California for 9 months. I was down in Texas. I was in Virginia. Did a small gig for RTC, Resolution Trust Corp.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember that,
Yeah.
but back in the late 80s, Ronald Reagan was bailing out the savings and loan.
He was.
So we were basically developing systems to help the RTC bail these savings and loans out. And
That's
stuff
a
like that.
high-profile gig.
But the long story short is, two things one I heard and one I observed.
Okay.
One I heard was, Tim, wherever there's conflict, there's opportunity.
Bravo.
So that has stayed with me my whole life. And the second thing was more of an observation in that, I worked there for a couple of years. I think I was on the fast track to be partner if I wanted.
Yep.
But boy, I didn't see a partner that was still married, on their first marriage, had kids, any of those things that I saw myself doing. And so decided it was time to leave.
All right. Well, then we're going to take a break.
Okay.
We're going to come back and figure out what you did to get away from the starry, spangly lights of crazy hour, senior level, high compensated executive, okay?
All right, sounds
Cool.
good.
All right. Stay with us. I think you'll like this next part. Okay, so life is interestinger and interestinger for you. So you got this amazing woman that you married. You went to Chicago,
Yep.
big time. What happened next?
So Steph had gotten an offer to go back to U of M,
Okay.
get her PhD, and so we moved back to Michigan. First time I had ever interacted with a headhunter. They said, hey, there's this manufacturer that makes washing machines in Michigan. They're looking to do an executive information system. Do you want to go to work for them? So, yeah, came back, rented a house in Jackson. Steph would go to Ann Arbor, working on her doctorate, and I would go left and drive 2 hours one way to Whirlpool.
Ooh.
Did that for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And then one of my buddies in high school was a plastics engineer. He was buying a bunch of computers from a company that just started in Hillsdale, Data Management Consultants. And it was just Dave and another guy, Keith, pretty much just the two of them. I joined them, and the long story short there is, boy, we took Data Management Consultants from just the three of us to over $5.5 million a year in sales, over 30 employees. We were one of the first internet providers in Michigan.
Really? Yeah.
When the internet came in.
So you were trendy before it was trendy.
That's right. We did that in 4 years.
Wow.
We did that in 4 years. So 92 to 96, I worked at Data Management, and in that time frame, on the front end of that time frame, our oldest, Zach, was born. On the back end of that time frame, when I was leaving Data Management in 96, Zeb, our second son, was born.
Okay.
And so Steph had finished her PhD. We ended up moving to Western Pennsylvania. She went to work for a school called Grove City College.
I know Grove City College.
All right.
Good school.
Awesome school, great location.
Oh, it's pretty
and
country.
yeah, I decided to go from pretty much a workaholic to a stay-at-home dad.
Well said.
So.
You see, I think this guy's got a future. This is, we're going to take a break now. We're going to come back with another part of our interview with Tim Throne. So stay with us, please.
Good morning. I'm Connie Miller from Free Meals. You probably all know that by now because I've come to you often enough, but I'm back again. You can see from the picture behind me, that's what our pantry shelves looked like last night after service. We started service in pretty good shape, low on a couple things, but we're empty now, which means I'm going grocery shopping as soon as I leave here. We continue to need help from the community. Cash donations, grocery donations. I think maybe some people are curious as to who is receiving this service from the team. They're your neighbors. No one knows what goes on in the house next door, but I know a lot of these people. And initially, a lot of these people were embarrassed when they pulled up because they've known me for 30 years. They live next door to us. They live down the street. It's not all senior citizens and homeless people. Matter of fact, that makes up a very small percentage of the people that we serve. These are families with children, and it's getting worse for them every week. Trying to make their bills. They work, they have jobs. Most everyone's gone back to work of some sort, whether working from home or back to an outside position. Nobody's slacking here. That term was used yesterday by a gentleman at Meijer when he saw that I was buying a lot of milk and eggs. He referred to those people as slackers. Well, they're not. They're trying really hard. And they are reluctantly accepting help, asking for help. And they're very, very grateful. But we're almost 3 years into this now, and things are just continuing to get worse. So I need help in every way. As I said, I need groceries. I need cash donations to buy groceries. I need people to help with the cooking. I need volunteers. I would love it if somebody said, hey, I'll go grocery shopping for you. Give me a list. Again, my number is 248-933-4579, and we will be including a list of the groceries that we carry on a regular basis as part of this. I'd like to thank Terry and OCTV and my wizard Kyle for helping me, again, using their facilities to put this together so I can get the word out to you quickly. Thank you all.